Yeah.
Yeah, and that fence.
Oh, so he just threw him?
Yeah. Like he just threw him, and then he rolled, and that's where he left it, like in that fence.
Wow, okay. So, a lady right here just said that I guess he had pulled over to the side of the freeway right here, and in a trash bag, he threw him, and he rolled all the way down to where you see a fence down there. I'm not sure if you guys could see a fence. Truth. If he's telling the truth, and he did throw the baby here, I'm sure they would have found the trash can. But look at there's a trash bag right there. There's a trash bag right there, but still, why would it be a clear trash bag?
In every investigation, there comes a moment when silence begins to crack. For weeks, the case of baby Emmanuel Haro has been filled with questions, confusion, and contradictions. Official reports, community whispers, and legal battles have all painted a picture of uncertainty. But now, something has shifted. An eyewitness, silent until now, has stepped forward with a claim that could change everything. They say they saw movements that night, actions that didn't fit the story the world was told. Their account doesn't just add another voice. It challenges the foundation of what we thought we knew. Could this testimony be the turning point? Could this be the piece that fills in the gaps left by unanswered questions? Tonight, we retrace the timeline, examine the witnesses' words, and explore what this could mean for the search for truth in the Emmanuel Haro case. But before we dive into this, kindly subscribe to our channel if you believe in fighting for justice. Because every view, every comment, every subscriber is a stand against silence and a step toward justice. We've just crossed 6,000 subscribers, all because of your support. And we need that same energy to reach 7,000, then 8,000, and then 10,000. So go ahead and drop your fingerprints on that subscribe button, and definitely where you're watching from. Because wherever you are, the day this vision is fulfilled, I will send my appreciation straight to you. Let's keep building this community that stands and fights for justice together. For weeks, the Emmanuel Haro case has been clouded with unanswered questions, contradictions, and silence. But now, an eyewitness has stepped forward. Their account may reshape everything we thought we knew about that night. The disappearance of a child carries with it an unbearable weight, not only for the family, but for an entire community desperate for clarity. Every detail matters. Every word spoken, or left unspoken, becomes a piece of a larger puzzle. This eyewitness claims they noticed something unusual on the night Emmanuel was last seen, a detail that until now remained hidden in the background. Their voice doesn't just echo through the investigation, it may challenge the timeline, the stories, and the public's understanding of what truly happened. Could this testimony be the missing piece investigators have been searching for? Or does it open an entirely new set of questions? Questions that may take us even deeper into a case already surrounded by shadows. Tonight, we step into the silence that has lingered too long and follow the words of someone who says they saw what others missed. To understand the weight of this eyewitness account, we need to step back and look at the case itself. On August 14, 2025, baby Emmanuel Haro was reported missing. His mother, Rebecca Haro, told authorities that she had been attacked outside a store while caring for him, and that when she regained awareness, Emmanuel was gone. The story immediately captured attention. Search teams were deployed, scent dogs combed the area, and surveillance footage was reviewed. But soon, investigators began to notice inconsistencies. Certain details did not align with physical evidence. The narrative of a sudden abduction started to unravel. Within days, the case shifted dramatically. Instead of focusing on a stranger's involvement, authorities turned their attention to the parents themselves. Both Rebecca and Emmanuel's father, Jake Haro, were arrested and charged in connection with his disappearance. Prosecutors have alleged that Emmanuel faced ongoing harm, though no remains have been located. The search continues, with investigators determined to find answers. This leaves the case in a painful limbo, charges filed, but no final closure. And into this uncertainty comes a voice. An eyewitness, someone who says they saw something when the world was dark and quiet. Something that might change how this story is understood. The voice that has now stepped forward does not come lightly. This eyewitness recalls a late-night scene, quiet streets, dim surroundings, and a moment that pulled their attention in an unexpected way. They describe movements that felt out of place, actions that made them stop and look twice. And what they claim they saw has stayed with them ever since, leaving them unsettled to this very day. What makes this testimony so striking is not only the timing, but the details that weave into the existing timeline. Investigators already faced questions about inconsistencies in the accounts given. But now, here was someone outside the immediate circle, saying they observed something that night. Their words did not simply repeat what had already been told, they introduced a different angle. For the community, this was powerful. In cases like these, silence often builds a wall of uncertainty. A single testimony can begin to crack that wall, and in doing so, shift the direction of public perception. Some began to wonder if this was the missing piece investigators needed. Others felt it only deepened the mystery, adding new questions instead of resolving old ones. Either way, the impact is undeniable. When prosecutors look at evidence, testimony like this, carefully scrutinized and weighed against known facts, can become a vital part of the larger case. It may not solve the mystery on its own, but it adds pressure, context, and urgency. And in a case already marked by contradictions, every new perspective can carry enormous weight. When news of the eyewitness account spread, the community's reaction was immediate. For neighbors and locals who had followed the case from the beginning, this was more than just another update. It was a shift in the atmosphere. Some expressed relief that someone finally spoke up, while others questioned why it took so long. In every corner of town, conversations began again, each person trying to make sense of what had been revealed. For many, the emotional toll has been overwhelming. Families, parents, and neighbors have described a mix of heartbreak and confusion. They've watched as search efforts unfolded, as court hearings were scheduled, and as reports changed with each passing week. Yet the one answer everyone longs for has not come. The absence of resolution weighs heavily on those who feel connected to Emmanuel's story. Frustration has also grown. People wonder why clarity remains so far out of reach. They ask why a child's disappearance has produced so many conflicting accounts and unanswered questions. And yet, despite the uncertainty, the courage of one witness choosing to speak out has given the community a sense that progress, however small, is still possible. In small towns, silence can feel heavier than words, but one voice can break that silence. And in this case, that voice has not only reignited public discussion, it has reminded everyone that even the smallest detail, spoken aloud, can carry immense weight. In any legal case, eyewitness accounts can be both powerful and fragile. On one hand, they offer a direct human perspective, someone who claims to have seen or heard something with their own eyes and ears. On the other hand, they are always examined closely, measured against physical evidence, and tested for consistency. Courts know that memory can be imperfect, and that details can shift with time. That is why this particular testimony carries a unique weight. It doesn't stand alone, it sits alongside a timeline already marked by contradictions and shifting narratives. Investigators will compare the witness's words to surveillance records, statements already given, and the established timeline of events. If those details line up, the account could strengthen the prosecution's case. If they conflict, it could open an entirely new path of questions. This testimony arrives at a critical moment. Both Jake and Rebecca Haro have already entered pleas of not guilty to the charges brought against them, and their preliminary hearing is scheduled for September 17, 2025. As that date approaches, every new piece of information, including this eyewitness statement, becomes part of what legal teams will prepare to present or challenge in court. The truth is, no single voice will decide the outcome of this case. But when combined with evidence, patterns, and the testimony of others, it could help shape how the story of that night is ultimately told in the eyes of the law. The introduction of an eyewitness account naturally invites comparison. Rebecca Haro's original story described a sudden encounter outside a store, an explanation that investigators later said did not align with available evidence. Now, with someone stepping forward to describe unusual movements they say they noticed that same night, the two accounts stand in tension with each other. This contradiction isn't new to the case. From the very beginning, official statements and community observations have not always matched. Some neighbors have quietly expressed doubts about the original version of events, noting details that didn't sit right with them. Others have pointed to gaps in the timeline that remain unexplained. The eyewitness testimony only adds another layer to this divide, forcing both investigators and the public to reassess what may or may not have taken place. But even with this new perspective, enormous questions remain unanswered. The most pressing is the one no family, no community ever wants to face: where is Emmanuel? Despite extensive searches, his exact location has never been discovered. The timeline of events that night is also still incomplete, with gaps that leave investigators piecing together fragments rather than a clear sequence. And until those missing pieces are found, the case cannot move forward with certainty. Patterns are beginning to form, contradictions between accounts, shifts in testimony, and now the emergence of an outside voice. But the full truth remains just beyond reach. And in the silence of what is still unknown, the weight of this case grows heavier with each passing day. As this case continues, one fact remains clear. The search for answers has been as much about silence as it has been about spoken words. Official reports, shifting timelines, and now the testimony of an eyewitness have all shaped how the story is told. Yet the questions at the heart of this case remain unresolved. When an eyewitness speaks, it adds light to the shadows, but it also raises new questions. In the Emmanuel Haro case, that night's silence has finally been broken. But is the truth closer, or still hidden? For the community, for investigators, and for everyone watching, the path forward will be determined not by speculation, but by the evidence that surfaces and the voices willing to step into the light. Until then, the search for truth continues.